So yeah, hey everyone. We've got quite an action-packed show for you today. Thank you for joining us. It's the Digital Marketers Organization Virtual Summit Series 2, where we have our esteemed colleague Arsen Rabinovich leading the charge today. So welcome all of you. We're unfortunately not in Napa today. I was kind of hoping that we would be, but no dice on that. But we brought the wine, so I guess that's all that matters.
Well, I'm doing all 5 hours for my exercise bike, so how about that?
Well, I'm
going to be dripping near the end of it.
But welcome everyone. You know, the purpose of these summits is obviously to have some sort of a virtual event for you guys where you can learn and collaborate with other digital marketers. Obviously, we want you guys to have plenty of takeaways today. Over on the right-hand side, you'll see that you can have a chat with anyone who's in the room. You can also down below at the bottom use the ask a question. If you have a question during one of the speakers' talks, you can simply write the question in there, and TJ, who's in the background somewhere, will go ahead and field it to the speaker. So feel free to chat to each other and to ask questions for the speakers. There will be a short Q&A for all of the speakers. Everything that you see today will be recorded on Crowdcast, so you'll be able to visit this whenever you'd like. We will also be downloading this and putting it inside the Digital Marketers Organization, which, by the way, if you are not a member of the DMO, please do so. It's a wonderful community that we've created. It's got over 2,000 digital marketers inside of it. We have free shows and other content pieces for everyone. But thanks. So I think we'll. But what? 1 second though, Joe. I think I have to do something before.
Was I interrupting you? I don't think so. It was like a solid monologue.
I was going to let it go, but I want to do one thing. You know, for a long time, I've been giving Arsen a lot of crap, and you know, we recently spent some time in Lake Arrowhead together. It was nice, and I just want to say that I really think that Arsen is one of my best friends, and I just wanted to say thank you for that. And secondary to that, a lot of you know that I own arsenrabinovich.com, and I've been using it for naughty things for a couple years. And I'm here today, Arsen, to let you know that I'm going to give you that domain name today. You can talk.
I'm muted. Oh, here we go. Try to censor me. I love you too, Jim. You're a pain in the ass. But you're handsome.
I just want to make sure that the hatchet gets buried right now, and that there's no reason for any of us to taunt each other, right? You've identified my trap now, haven't you?
I was kind of hoping that this was going to happen, but thank you for the domain name. Now, I mean, it's kind of useless since it's been like spammed by spammers from all over the world. So
people want to go see it, they can.
Thank you. Yeah, arsenrabinovich.com. Yeah. You
want to take it away?
You could use this as a test case. If you could bring this one back from the dead, you can fix any problem.
Right. I'm gonna redirect it to the DMO. Just point the domain there.
Well, Arsen is the CEO and founder of TopHatRank.com, .org.net. And he's been a speaker for a long time, so if you aren't familiar with him, I'm sure that he has a wonderful presentation for us today. And yeah, we'll let you go, and we'll interrupt you when it's time for you to stop talking. How about that?
I love it. Yep.
Break a leg.
Thank you.
Yeah, break it.
Are you guys? I'm already sharing my screen, so you guys are just gonna handle that for me, right?
TJ's on it.
Allegedly.
Okay. Perfect.
No, you got to reshare it, Arsen.
Right. First website. I got to reshare it. Okay, hang on.
Yeah.
Here we go. Let's go here. Woohoo! All right. Confirm that you guys are seeing my screen. It says hello.
Yes.
Yep.
Awesome. All right. Hello, DMO Virtual Summit Series. I'm so honored, really honored, and super grateful to have the opportunity to present with you guys today. I think we have some folks from outside of the US here, right? I'm looking at the screen. I saw some people from Philippines and other places. Yeah, nice. Okay, well, my name is Arsen. It's so nice to meet all of you and all the new people who are attending. I look forward to answering all of your questions at the end. I have a nice interactive presentation for us today that should keep us entertained. Jim, you might want to unmute for this one. And as you see here, my name is Arsen. I'm an SEO with over 10 years of experience. I'm also the founder and managing partner at tophatrank.com. We are an award-winning SEO agency that works with modern brands of all sizes. And before we dive into all of this, I want to say thank you to Jim, TJ, Joe, Jason, and the rest of the DMO team. You guys work so hard to deliver these super awesome and very unique events. So grateful for the opportunity. And can I just point out how young you look here, Jim? Yeah, this picture is really good.
It's a nice try, but I guess maybe you don't deserve that domain name anymore.
Right, with no audience feedback, this is going to get a little awkward. One of the reasons I'm so excited about this talk is that this is my third year speaking at the Advanced Search Summit DMO Summits events. And this is my second virtual conference in 2020 that I'm doing from the comfort of my own home. And we talked about this. Joe and I are actually wearing shorts right now. And those of you who are lucky enough to not be connected to Jim or I on Facebook, you're probably asking yourself, what is up with these pictures of actor Bruce Campbell, who you may remember from such classics as Ash vs. Evil Dead, Burn Notice, Evil Dead, Hellboy, Escape from LA, Xena Warrior Princess, and Hercules series that ran from 1996 to 1999. Well, it's because to me and to a few people around the world, Jim, just for some reason, really looks like Bruce. Jim, do you care to comment on this?
No, I just wanted to be awkward silence so that you.
Good. I'm very used to awkward silence. All right, good. Let's move on. And so to keep things a little interesting, I always try to plan something interactive for these presentations. As an example, as you can see here on this slide, for Advanced Search Summit in Napa back in 2018, Top Hat Rank bought everyone in the audience a glass of wine. For all of us to play a drinking game, when every time you would see Jim's face in one of my slides, like you see here, everyone would take a drink. But since we're not seeing each other in person this time, I came up with a new game. Jim, you ready for this? Silence.
Yes. Here we go. There we go.
I call this game Jim or Bruce Campbell, where I will show you a picture of either Jim or Bruce. And I will ask in the questions here inside this platform, the question Jim or Bruce, and you would look at the picture and press 1 for Jim or 2 for Bruce. And sometimes you'll see a picture like this where you would also have to decide whether it's Jim or Bruce, right? Bruce, Jim, Bruce, Jim. Nice. The prize, for those of you who are interested, the winner will be shipped one of our very much in demand in Soviet Russia Google Searches You t-shirts. So for those of you who care to participate, what we're going to do is we're going to ask a question. I think in here, let me just try to, am I not able to ask questions? Oh, here we go, ask question. And I'm going to go like this. And then you guys would just press 1 for Jim or 2 for Bruce. All right, hopefully everybody gets it. Are you guys excited to get started? All right, I hope so. Let's dig right in. Today, we're going to talk about focusing your website for better query, syntax, and intent matching. This particular talk is not going to get too technical, so it's perfect for SEOs across all skill levels. So what's query, syntax, and intent? Query syntax is a pattern of words that make up a query. And for us SEOs, this is one of the most crucial things to the success of our work. It is imperative for us to not only know, but to understand what words people use when they start their discovery path for things and information online. What is query intent? Intent, you can't purchase the shirt. You can only win the shirt. Query intent is the identification and categorization of what a user intended or wanted to find when they perform their search on a search engine. Basically, it's the why behind the query. What is the user trying to achieve? And again, for us SEOs, this is super duper important. This dictates so much for us. And typically we focus on 3 classic types of intent. And since not every query can be classified as a single intent query, things do tend to get more complicated when you start to blend them. But for our purposes today, we're going to stick to these 3. So let's zoom in. The first query type is navigational queries. These queries that aim to seek a single website or web page of a single entity, like YouTube, Papa John's, and so on. These are the navigational queries. Informational queries seek guidance, background information, or specific information about a topic or product without having an intent to purchase, like how long to hard boil an egg, or where did potatoes originate? Jim, do you know where potatoes came from? Awkward silence. I'll take that as a no. They originated in South America, in Bolivia. A little bit of information there. And then the third is transactional. Queries that reflect the intent of a user to perform a particular action, like purchasing a car or downloading an ebook. Like, as an example, the Walking Dead comic books near me. You're trying to, oh, Frank's from Russia. You're trying to buy a book, or kids' mountain bikes for sale. So why does all of this matter? This is important because we often forget this one little thing. And AJ Cohen, and I'm sure everybody knows who AJ Cohen is, put this best in his 2019 article that's very appropriately titled Query Syntax, and I included a link for everyone here. Query syntax describes, in this article, AJ quotes, I'm quoting AJ here, query syntax describes intent, which in turn drives content composition and format. Does that make sense? When we not only understand what the query is, but also why someone is performing this query, we can start to accommodate them better by creating content that addresses their active and passive needs. Let's take a look at query bikes for kids. In this particular instance, the syntax by Google is being interpreted as transactional intent. So Google is assuming that this query intent is to buy a bike. So 80% of this result page is filled with places where I can do that, where I can buy a bike, local places, online places, and so on. This syntax, best bikes for kids, on the other hand, shows me informational results. Google is assuming that I'm that I'm in my discovery phase and that I'm looking to learn which bike would be best for my kid. Pretty simple, right? Google changes its result based on its perception of the intent behind the query. So let's keep that in mind as we work through this. Okay, you guys ready for the first Jim Christian versus Bruce or Bruce Campbell? I'm going to paste it in here. Well, actually, let's keep this one that we have going in here in the question. Let's do one more. Here we go. Questions in. And now you guys either press 1 for Jim Christian or Bruce Campbell. Who is this? Jim or Bruce? We got 1 vote. I'm going to give you 0 votes. Nobody wants to play. Okay, no votes. 1. Okay, let's try this one. Is this Jim or is this Bruce? I'll give you guys a second. There we go. We're seeing ones. Nobody's answering the question inside the Q&As, but it's okay. Keep them in the comments. Love it. 0.01. Nice, Holly. All right, moving on. So now that we have a firm grasp on what the query syntax and intent is, and understand how Google changes the SERP to accommodate it, we need to start applying this knowledge to our own website or to our client's website to see where we can make improvements. And again, the goal here is to understand and to optimize for the user journey. Holly, I know this is your favorite slide here. If I'm looking for a bike for my 7-year-old, my path will start with informational queries, a lot of them, before I continue to transactional. And the brand that will be present the most along my journey will resonate the strongest with me, because I'm a human and I have a very predictable, simple brain. So today we're going to cover a few things. We're going to talk about mapping, topics, queries, and intent. We're going to talk about information architecture, and we're going to talk about optimizing for intent by creating experiences. So what are we working with? Before we start applying any of this knowledge, we need to understand what's happening on our website. I want to do a little bit of a disclosure here. If your website is not struggling, you're ranking and making money, you're getting traffic, do not touch it. Do not make changes to your website. If it's not broken, don't try to fix it. But if you are seeing declines, this is one of the areas of improvements where we see the biggest ROI for our clients. So in our situation with me, we're an agency and we need to get through this process super fast. And we need to be super efficient with this process too. We can't spend too much time. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to crawl through the website and extract all of the things. I like to use Screaming Frog. I like to connect it to GA, Google Analytics, Google Search Console, and do some very careful crawl configurations that will help me get to what I need to get to super fast. And essentially what we're trying to do here is we're trying to extract categories, tags, brands. If you're on e-commerce, we need to get an understanding of how many of each of those, how many assets we have in each one of those. We need to identify the content types, whether this is an article, a product page, a list page. So your category pages are essentially list pages. And we also need to figure out how things are organized. And we need to do some keyword research. Grab your categories and other taxonomies, do some quick keyword research, be mindful and pay close attention to query syntax and intent as much as possible. Pay attention to the URL to URLs that just started ranking. Did you have a roundup post, an article ranking for best bikes for kids? And now Google is preferencing your bike product listing pages, PLP, category pages, or collection pages. When this happens, we see this very frequently. When this happens, rankings tend to dip as Google assumes that the best page for the user in this situation is a PLP or a category page. But because it's not very optimized and or doesn't reflect or support the intent, it's going to start ranking lower. Organize your keyword data for queries that lost traction. Combine them into logical phrases and run them through a keyword tool. So in this situation, we took a look at all of our keywords. This is for a brand that obviously sells socks for men and women. And we did some combinations here: brand plus category plus type, sex plus category plus type. I like to use Keyword Keg. Just about a year I've been using this tool. Super awesome. Super simple and straight into the point. You just drop all of your keywords there and it gives you combinations. So analyze the keyword data. Keyword research will inform how you organize your assets, your content, or your product pages, and the relationships you need to create between content types. And here I'm showing you guys for men's no-show socks. We're seeing that there's 9,900 search volume. It's a broad query. So most likely this will be a category, a PLP. And then here, oh, you guys can see my mouse, right? Men's socks, no show. These are all categories or PLPs that are written as breadcrumbs. So we're basically figuring out how things are going to be organized. Check with Google. Really dig into this. Look at everything. But what we're mainly are interested in here is seeing what type of organic results Google is prioritizing towards the top. Are broader queries being mapped to list pages, PLPs, category indexes, or are more refined queries being mapped directly to asset pages, products, and articles? Will your article or your product page be able to rank at the top of a SERP that mainly returns local results and transactional results? Recently had a consultation call with a fairly large storage and one of those, like, they ship you a crate box that you fill in and then they move it for you or store it for you. And they were doing the very typical thing where it was the same piece of content. It was a bunch of words on the page, that basically all they did was the only uniqueness on that page was changing the city and a few other keywords. Everything else was a duplicate. That page will never rank. And even if it was unique content, the intent does not support reading an article for a query of storage near me, right? So check with Google. Top 3 organic results for bikes for kids are list pages, or product listing pages or category pages. We can safely assume that these are being viewed by Google as best possible places to land someone who is looking for a bike for their kid, but the user is not sure about what bike they want. The query has transactional intent, but is not refined enough to show specific product pages. We can consider this to be a top of the funnel transactional query. Top 3 organic results for bikes for kids, best bikes for kids, are article pages, educational informational content. In this instance, we can safely assume that Google has decided that when someone is looking for best bikes for kids, they are looking to learn or gain more information, but are not ready to purchase yet. So the best possible content type for this query is long form. We can consider this query to also be top of the funnel, but now informational. And this is an actual easy peasy. What I'm showing you is an easy peasy worksheet we created for one of our clients using this method. We just went through this process and we created this for our client. Notice how we are mapping the relationships in column A. We're formulating URLs and creating organizational and logical navigational paths with breadcrumbs. We'll get to all of this in a little bit. But the important part here is that we are that we now know not only which topics need to be organized and how, but we've also mapped keywords and search volumes and have identified which content type Google is preferring over others for each query. Check what your competitors are doing. Once you've done your own research and have mapped your pages, it is also a good idea to see what your competitors are doing and how it's working for them. And this is a quick hack for you guys. I like to use SEMrush for this. I like to extract keywords from my competitors for my competitors' keywords as they are ranking for different page types or content types. So here you can see that I've created a filter to only show me URLs that have collections in them. So I know that Shopify uses collections for PLPs, and I want to understand how things are being mapped. So I'm going to tell SEMrush to only show me keywords that are ranking in top 10 for URLs that are collections. So as you can see here, right? And now I can see all of the keywords that are ranking on page 1 for my competitor, and I can better understand how I'm going to organize mine, or is this supporting or contradicting what I've done with my own research. So this is really awesome because the URL schema for some e-commerce platforms, just as I said here, is very predictable, and you can laser focus on specific page clusters. So the next logical place to land the user, if the query is not refined, is to land them on a product page. But in this situation, no show socks is not refined enough because we're not saying what color the socks are or what size they are. So this needs to be a category page for us. I'm not close to being done, you guys. You guys ready for another Jim or Bruce? Let's try.
Not really.
Yeah, I don't think anyone is, Arsen.
Well, listen, we'll just have to see. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at this one. Jim or Bruce? 1 for Jim, 2 for Bruce. Do you know how much work I put into making these? This is like billable hours here.
And this is the best that you could do, which is.
I mean, this is pretty good. This is pretty good.
I don't know about that.
I've decided not to do a video, so it's just images. All right, 1 for Jim, 2 for Bruce. I think people are getting it right. Everybody wants a T-shirt. Holly, 1.5. I love it. All right, look at that. People are playing. Everybody's playing along. Uno.
I've already opened 1 bottle of wine. Wanted to let you know.
This is causing you to drink. Okay, and how about this one? Jim or Bruce? How am I doing on time? I have 10 more minutes. 10 more minutes. Michael, Jim or Bruce? Those. Nice. All right, let's move on to information architecture. Look at that. People are getting it right. All right. if I was to ask you to find a 16 millimeter red marble, which option, A or B, would make life easier for you? B, right? Well, if we make things easier for the user to find, we'll make it easier to find things on our website for the user, it's going to also be easier for Google. So let's take a look at typical e-commerce structure. We have an online store that sells marbles. Let's call this store Jim's Marbles. And Jim, if this SEO thing doesn't work out for you, the domain is available. But jimsmarbles.com is organized in a very typical e-commerce way. URLs match the tree. So at the top, you have the homepage. Then you have red marbles, which is a PLP or a category page where you see all of the red marbles. And then the URL structure follows that tree, where all of the product pages, the PDPs, are nested in doc, where all of the PDPs are nested inside of the category page. This is clean, this is logical, but what this does is doesn't give him much room to play with when he wants to reorganize things. Because every time he wants to, let's say, add another category into the mix, or he wants to move asset pages from one category to another, he's going to have to do a lot of redirects. And for bonus points, what else do we see here? Are we overusing any specific words? Am I repeating marbles too much? Isn't it already implied that this is a marble store? Do I need to really say red marbles or 14 millimeter red marbles? No, I don't. I like to clean things up. I like to keep my URLs as short and as concise as possible. What I like to do is I like to bring breadcrumbs to help contextualize each page, to show the relationships to other pages, what each page's relationship is to its parent or child, and to provide logical, organizational, and navigational paths. So again, as we can see here, we've removed marbles from all of our directories, and we're now contextualizing that with the breadcrumbs. So on this category page, this would be the breadcrumb. On this product page, this would be the breadcrumb, basically showing Google that this is a child to this parent, right? Easy peasy, makes sense for everyone. But it's still not perfect, you guys. I want to take it a step further and help future-proof Jim's website by removing URL level nesting and keeping everything in the root as much as possible. I know some SEOs will boo me for this, but it does make sense, you guys. By keeping everything in the root, or as much as possible in the root, so you can have like categories nested inside of categories, but by keeping everything in the root, I'm able to move assets around different categories using breadcrumbs without having to create tons of redirects. As you can see here, homepage is green, my PLP is red, and my PDP is black. So they're all living in the root, but I'm telling Google what their relationships are with properly structured and marked up breadcrumbs. Now, if I need to, as an example, move this to a different category, or I create a different category, all I got to do is change the breadcrumb structure, breadcrumb path, while leaving the URL in place. So this is kind of future-proofing your site. Again, don't go in and start making these changes if you're doing very well. There's no need to go in and do this. But if you are seeing that your stuff is fluctuating when it stuff, keywords and rankings, do start looking into this and how to reorganize. Make sure you're also simple and descriptive without over-optimizing keywords. Reinforce focus with proper breadcrumbs and schema. But one thing is important. You must be able to easily navigate to the child page from the parent page for this to make sense. And a lot of times when we do audits, we notice that the breadcrumb architecture is proper and it makes sense and it's logical. But when I go to the category red marbles, I sometimes will not be able to see or navigate to the 14 millimeter red marbles page. So you do want to make sure that your breadcrumbs are reflecting. Frank, did you really just buy Jim's Marbles? Love it. So we want to make sure that breadcrumbs are reflecting your logical navigational paths and organizational paths. Let's talk about how to utilize blended categories. This is also super useful when your CMS will not play along. So when you need to get super granular, you need to start creating these blended categories. And what are these blended categories? These pages allow you to match the query syntax and intent and provide the best possible place to land a user who is mid-funnel. Let's take a look. So where would Google land a user who is searching for large red marbles, right? That's a pretty broad query, or red marbles over 18 millimeters, right? So there isn't really a landing page that matches that syntax or that intent here, right? So obviously we're assuming that there's real demand for this query, and that it doesn't make sense to create a site-wide section to help with filtering large, small marble sizes, because it can be just like a one isolated. Yes, breadcrumbs are mad underrated, Luke, correct. So it doesn't make sense to create a site-wide filter or a category to separate your marbles into large and small, just because there's could be just search volume for large red marbles, but no search volume for any other type of marble. So the best thing to do here is to create this hybrid blended category. And this is, again, so this is not a filter. This is a category that is nested as a subcategory. It's not a true subcategory. It's just nested as a subcategory utilizing breadcrumbs to red marbles, which is its parent. So as you can see here, red marbles, breadcrumb. So this would be the breadcrumb for the large red marbles page. And the parent for this would be red marbles, even though they are both in the root and kind of occupy the same level in the hierarchy. And here's an example of how we structure these blended categories in the large appliance parts distribution e-commerce website. Pay attention to the breadcrumbs here, guys. So this is a blended category, Whirlpool belts, right? So we had Whirlpool parts, Whirlpool dryer parts, Whirlpool belts, and then Whirlpool dryer belts. But we noticed that there was a lot of search volume for Whirlpool belt, right? So we created a Whirlpool belt category, which is positioned as a PLP, and the parent to this is Whirlpool parts, while the child to this is Whirlpool dryer belts, right? Makes sense. Again, super easy stuff, just not utilized properly. If you have a product that lives across multiple categories, it is okay to use 2 sets of breadcrumbs, sometimes even 3. A lot of sites do this. Yelp does this. Who remembers Matt Cutts? He said that it doesn't hurt to have those other sets of breadcrumbs on the page. Google will take the first one and use it, and use the other ones as a way to gain a deeper understanding of your site. So if you have one product or one topic that belongs across multiple categories, do use multiple breadcrumbs. You can apply schema to them. They don't have to be visible on the page. You guys still with me? You guys ready for another Jim Christian or Bruce Campbell? Yay!
It's so thrilling.
Kill me now.
The excitement is almost too much to bear.
Hey, listen, I give the people what they want. All right, let's do this. This one, Jim or Bruce? The good ones are towards the end, guys. Jim or Bruce? 1 for Jim, 2 for Bruce. 3. Joe, you're not getting a t-shirt, but you already have one, so it's okay. I want SEO dominate. Lily, I bought SEObay.com. Nice. All right, Jim. This one, Jim or Bruce? 1 for Jim, 2 for Bruce. Well, I take a sip of water here.
I mean, I don't drink beer, so.
You also don't have a metal hand. And you're also not as handsome as Bruce Campbell. Just look very similar. All right, creating experiences. I have, about 6 minutes left here. Let's run through this super fast. So creating experiences. Aiding a user along their journey by helping them decide which product is best for them with the least amount of clicks will help rankings and conversions. And here we're going to talk about active and passive intent. So what is active intent? It's the intent that explicitly describes, is explicitly described by the query syntax. Oh, I lost my button here. And what is passive intent? It's the intent that implicitly describes the query syntax. Let's get into this. So for best bikes for kids, my active intent is to see a list of bikes for kids, right? The best bikes for kids. My passive intent would be that's something that's in the back of my head as I'm going through my journey. Is what are the ratings for these kids' bikes? What are the measurements? What are the other parents are saying? Different types of kids' bikes, right? What are the mountain bikes, cross bikes, whatever have you? And again, AJ does a really good job of explaining this. He gets like super nerdy in this article. He talks about query classes and clusters, so it's like really, really awesome. I recommend that everybody reads this. But to simplify this, oh no, these are not coming in crisp. Oh, that sucks. So this is, we did this, I think 2 years ago for a client who we actually won an award for. They had a very limited budget. And with that limited budget, we were able to compete with some of the bigger guys by being very good at matching active and passive intent. And it sucks that you guys can see it. So this was what it looked like before. And this is what it looked like, the PLP, the category page for champagne and sparkling wine on sale. This is what it looked like. And here, I think I have it on the next slide here. So this is the list view. Again, it's not going to be in crisp. But so you guys can see what we did here. We not only linked out to internal content that talks about pairing of the wine. So this is for red wine on sale with different foods, chicken or seafood. But we also drilled into the subcategories. We talked about how to store the wine, and then the subcategories to red wine, which are Cabernet, Merlot, and so on and so forth. So when we did this, and we also brought in excerpts and user rating. So we basically help the user make a decision on which wine they want to buy without. Oh, people are agreeing with me so hard right now. Good, I like that. Which wine to buy without having to click in and out of each product, right? They can make or get close to making a decision by looking at this. So do's and don'ts. Don't add SEO content to your category pages or your PLP pages. Don't write content just for SEO. Do add educational content that satisfies passive intent. So optimize for active intent, support with passive intent. Don't force action or clicks. Do add value by providing enough product info to help make a decision. Okay, so some additional reading. Aleda Solis, everybody knows who she is, wrote a very awesome article that's optimizing content in category pages while keeping its commercial nature. I have a link for you there. And then Kevin Indig has a really awesome article that he wrote that my entire team constantly references. The best internal linking structure depends on your business model. Both super duper recommended reading. And in conclusion, at the end of the day, you guys, intent and syntax matching needs to be done both site-wide and page level. It's about 80% of the work that will get you rankings and traffic. The other 20% are links. All right, and with that, I have done. I have one more. Jim or Bruce. You guys, let's make this one real good. All right, here we go. Jim or Bruce? One for Jim, two for Bruce. One for Jim, two for Bruce.
I would love to shoot that at you. Just harpoon you. I don't know why you keep doing with the Bruce thing. I don't see it.
I give the people what they want, Jim. Yeah. I give the people what they want.
You give them like a.
Look, some people are confused. Look, we have somebody who's putting in a 1 who thinks this is actually you.
Is that your wife?
No.
Did she see you put all these slides together again?
No. I hid this from her. She already thinks that I'm obsessed with you. I don't need her thinking, sitting at night, giggling at my screen. All right, let's take a look at this one. Wow. 1 for Jim, 2 for Bruce. This one's really good, you guys. I worked a lot on this one. A lot of Photoshop layering. 1 for Jim, 2 for Bruce.
Literally going to just drink.
Very nice. Yes. There we go. And then we're at our 45-minute mark. This last one, Jim or Bruce. Jim Christian or Bruce Campbell, you guys.
Well, you have 10 minutes more.
What do you mean? You said 45 minutes. I made this 45 minutes on the dot.
Well, we do have two questions, legit questions versus the Jim versus Blue stuff, in case you want to answer something SEO related.
Yeah, I will. Okay. Let's get everybody in. Thank you guys. You guys are awesome. Again, Jim, I love you. You're awesome. Thanks for having me. Joe, TJ, and the rest of the DMO crew. You guys are amazing. You guys put on some really awesome events.
Great.
All right, I'm going to stop sharing. What are the questions?
Sure. So the first one is by Frank Watson. He asked,
God.
did the PLP listings change around when Google started free merchant product listings?
I don't know.
All right, next question from Donna. The breadcrumbs, are they in the schema markup?
Correct. They are.
And the third one from Rosh. Oh, where'd that go? What if the domain doesn't have marbles in it? What's your approach then?
I have a lot of words for this, but I don't think you guys will be happy with them. Yeah. So if the domain, so look, the domain name itself really doesn't matter, right? It's what you optimize it and what you map it to, right? So like your title, your H1, the contextualization, the schema, all of the entity stuff that happens around your brand and your domain is what's going to connect those lines between what you are and your brand, your domain, and what you do, what you offer. So if you don't have marbles in the domain, or you don't have that exact match, you can optimize your homepage to say this is a marble store, right? With titles, headings, and everything else. So you can pass that contextualization.
Final question by Michelle Robbins. Favorite Evil Dead movie?
He hasn't actually watched it.
I watched a few. Ash versus Evil Dead 2. I don't know, Michelle. Why are you putting me in the spot?
I actually have a question for you, Arsen.
Sure.
And it's a legit one, too.
Ooh.
So you showed the slide with the red wine, and you mentioned chicken and seafood as links that are going off into other areas.
Yeah.
Are those going to like pages about chicken, or are they going to wines
that pair with chicken?
So here's my thing. The thing is that typically chicken and seafood pair with like whites, right? So no, it's a legit question because I can't click on it. Is that going to a white wine page, or is that going to anything that just goes with chicken?
Probably anything that goes with chicken, because it's designed to match wines to go with chicken, right? Okay. To match that query. Yeah.
Okay, that was my only question.
Not a wine drinker. You can ask me about kombucha. I'll tell you everything.
Me either.
All right. What are your thoughts on creating specific keyword URLs? For example, red-marbles ... rare-red-marbles. This is from Juliana.
Again, only do this if it makes sense, right? So the answer is it depends. It's my typical SEO answer for you, right? But if it makes sense, if there's search, Doc is like going nuts right now in chat. If it makes sense, if there's search volume for that query, for that syntax, and you can support that intent properly, it does make sense to create those category pages, correct?
And then we got one that came in from Jessica. It's not really a question. It says, lost at the collections filter you used for competitor research.
Oh, ask the question again. Sorry, Joe.
What was the collections filter you used for competitor research? This is from Jessica.
Okay, so in SEMrush, and a lot of other tools do this too. So in SEMrush, you can basically click on filter, and then you can say you can select from a drop down, like you can select show me only keywords that trigger a local result, right? So you can see all the keywords that only have like local, like the local pack in them. You can also then isolate by URLs. So if you have if you're working with Shopify, if your competitors on Shopify, you know that they're organizing their content into their categories are their collections, and their products are sitting in products. So if I'm interested in how things are being mapped on my competitor who's like killing it, and he's across the board ranking #1 for all of the keywords that I'm or in the top 3 for all of the keywords that I want to rank for, I'm going to take a look and see, okay, show me all URLs that are that have the word collections in them inside the URL and are ranking in the top 3 or top 10. And then you can also add things like remove brand name, because if you're working with a larger brand, you're probably going to have a lot of brand name in there.
And what wine pairs best with salmon?
Jim?
I don't know. I don't like salmon.
He doesn't eat salmon.
Kombucha?
Oh,
Yeah. How about a nice beer? I was totally going to ask Arsen another question too. No, you made me forget. Nope, totally lost it. It was
actually,
so
one
close.
came in from Ralph. Go for passive intent, or people also ask. And do you put these listings in Schema FAQ within the category page?
Good question. I don't remember if we experimented with schema FAQ inside of the category pages or PLP pages. But so in that article from Aleda, there is reference to. We're going to share these slides, right, guys? People are going to be able to.
Yes. We'll put these in
Okay.
the community for you.
Okay, perfect. So in that article from Aleda, she does reference Q&A on specific pages. For category pages, but yeah, definitely passive intent can be people also search, right? Because they're refining, so they've learned something, they search for something, they've gained that information, and now they're refining their queries. So same with me. So all of this bike related stuff is because I was trying to buy a bike for my kid, and I was trying to figure out what would be the best bike for him. So I started at the very top of the funnel, best bikes for kids. I read that content, and then my next query was to refine it, best mountain bikes for kids, or best 24-inch mountain bikes for kids, right? So as I continue to refine, my active intent changes and my passive intent expands to basically cover more things that I've learned about.
And Holly wants to know, doesn't that second breadcrumb confuse Google?
Well, no, it doesn't confuse Google. So we've done these experiments, and it actually works very well. So Google is not going to take that second breadcrumb because that second breadcrumb and use it inside of the result page, right? Google's only going to show the one that's actually being seen on your site to the user, and the one that's marked up. Now, inside your schema, you can have another set of breadcrumbs. Whether you do it with most likely with JSON-LD would be the best way to do this. You can have a second and third breadcrumb, as many as you want. As long as it makes sense, right? Don't just do things to do things, right? As long as it makes sense to have if like, for instance, I saw this on Yelp. We were looking for a tapas bar, right? Tapas bar is a restaurant and it's also a bar, right? And so in Yelp, you had a breadcrumb for it being a restaurant on the page, but then also in the schema, there was a breadcrumb showing that this is also a bar.
I have one last question that I remembered.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll be up for time. What about UGC? So in context of that wine slide that you showed,
Mm-hmm.
was there UGC that was on those pages, and how would that intuitively help or not help what you're trying to rank for?
Sure. So the UGC, the only UGC that's on those pages is in the star ratings. We didn't actually bring in anything from the user, like the reviews, into the PLPs, right? On the PDP, super important to have this information. UGC is weird. We've done a few things for a few clients who are very heavy on UGC. And we've taken more of like a data science approach to it, where we're like, according to our community, like 56% of the time, this is the issue with your appliance, right? Based on what people are reporting. And then we link out to obviously like stories from people or comments or whatever they submit. But we use that data to basically tell or inform the user that based on people who were presented with the same issue as you or looking for the same thing as you, they're also were looking for this.
One last. I know you got 45 seconds. It's from Jessica again. She's thanking you in advance. Do you have any tips for information architecture that's outranking delivery services, like ordering from a restaurant directly, rather than going through the delivery service?
Okay, so I think you're asking what would be the proper information architecture to like really stick it to the guys who are currently ranking there. I think delivery services are hyper localized, right? So you definitely want to nest things and mimic what would be the logical search pattern, right? So best pizza in Los Angeles, right? You definitely want to create, and you don't have to like match that syntax correctly across your silo. So you can have like Los Angeles as like all the restaurants in Los Angeles, and then all the pizza restaurants in Los Angeles, and then inside of that you have your assets, which are all the pizza restaurants, right? Or pizza delivery services. Or if you're just focusing on pizza, then you can just go Los Angeles and then all the pizza assets.
Thank you,
All right.
Arsen, very much for your time today.
Get rid
Thanks,
of them,
guys.
PJ.